Here we go. Welcome. I'm here today with Shreyas Patel, DC HOSA State Advisor. Shreyas, welcome.
Good to see you.
How are you doing?
Doing great.
Good, buddy. Welcome back. We've had a few conversations on our program, and today I'm here to talk about updates. And there's a lot, I know. There's a lot of updates. And so national events have impacted your work globally, your views on leadership and service. How have all of your experiences shaped your approach to healthcare education and mentoring future health professionals?
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting. I've had the privilege of kind of being a part of decision making at the local level and at the national level with so many organizations and witnessing so many leaders in general, their stories, their past, their kind of unsung stories as well. And when I've been able to dig in and reflect on how those stories connect to individual students, that's when I can extrapolate and determine, like, hey, what if I taught this particular idea, or what's the theme that I'm seeing collectively with all these leaders, whether they're inside healthcare or not. Even when I was able to go to state funerals, you hear these incredible stories about the philanthropic work that's happening, the impact they've had with such a small decision, and how it has completely changed how we approach healthcare historically. So I think that's where I've had the most joy in finding those moments to connect and empower kids in their healthcare journey.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. And so you've mentioned in the past that music and healthcare share qualities like empathy and collaboration. How do you integrate these values into your work with DC HOSA students?
That's a great question. And I think, like, music is my fuel. We all have kind of something that energizes us. Like, after a long day, I will go home and then immediately turn around and go to rehearsal. And one of the things you learn in music is that it is not just about your own voice, right? So you are always collaborating, and you meet new people. Sometimes I will meet somebody for 3 hours and I'll never see them again. But in those 3 hours, we have to create something beautiful. We have to work together. We have to trust each other. And so much of that experience for me, that requires that active listening, that ability to problem solve, with fine tuning, right? Those are really powerful moments to create the art that you have to create. And all of that translates directly into healthcare. We're asking people to listen to each other. We're asking people to hear each other's stories. We're asking students to really not think about themselves, right? And that is what art is. It's the one thing that connects all of us. So if we were to tap into more art and how art works, the philosophy of art, and allow healthcare to be an art form rather than just a career, right? I think that has shaped a lot of my ability to teach kids about, like, hey, you can have your own journey, you can have your own identity as an individual and still do incredible things and find the connections between all those, right? There's so many. So
that's really incredible. We've heard other conversations where it's important to have different aspects of your life, to focus not just on one thing perhaps, but to have other passions and other hobbies and all that. And it sounds like for you, it's music, and combining that with healthcare is a fascinating thing, right?
Yeah.
Shreyas? I mean, it's just very interesting. And that leads me to innovation. What are some of the most innovative teaching methods that you found most helpful in teaching students health education?
I think the latest innovative methods, for me, I'm also in the classroom as well. So the use of simulations, even though there's some equity issues with use of simulations because they're so expensive, but occasionally you have some trials and things that you can use, right? So having students role play in the simulation to apply what they are doing, seeing the patient in 3D, literally moving the tools, that has been super powerful for students because they now feel like they are part of the solution and they are practicing and using those. I think traditionally we call them soft skills, things like critical skills. I think they're not soft at all. I think they're probably the most critical skills that students should use with communication and thinking. That's a whole different ballgame. But I think using those tools, things like stat pearls and up to date, where it is true data that you can utilize for students to then navigate the next step for whatever diagnostic they're doing. So I really love simulations. I hope they become more accessible because right now they're only accessible to people who have a lot of money in their district. And so when we think about those urban school districts that may have limitations, or suburban, or rural ones that also have limitations in funding, they don't have access to that technology, and they can't pay $8,000,
Right.
To get it for a year.
Right.
So I'm hoping that will shift and change as the demand becomes higher throughout the United States.
And perhaps the cost will come down too as it becomes more available. And we see some of the satellite programs that some companies have, like Amazon has their new Project Keeper, and there's Starlink. So it's providing, it's my understanding, access for at least the Wi-Fi piece to rural communities and others in underserved areas. So that's really cool. And, I think what you're saying is that opportunity to see it, because then you can be it.
Yeah.
You
build that
appreciate
confidence.
it and build the confidence. That's what you're seeing on the front line. So that's really exciting to hear. And so you talked earlier about your passion for music. How do you balance this profession of music? You're a musician. That's one of your sort of personas, right?
Yeah.
And then you're also a healthcare advocate. You're leading with a national, global organization like HOSA, Future Health Professionals. What advice do you have for students trying to pursue all of these things? How do you do this?
You do have to learn how to balance, right? And I think you sacrifice some things. You don't sacrifice other things. I think for me personally, it has been, because music is such a rejuvenating part of my life, even though it's work, it's a long day. Having that rejuvenation is something I'm so passionate about that allows me to feel like myself. And I don't think any student should ever think, oh, your life in healthcare is going to be your career for the rest of your life. I mean, I truly have a career in music. I get paid to sing, which is amazing. And it doesn't take away from my identity as a healthcare educator or an advocate, or when I was practicing as a PA. It was just synergistic. And I allowed myself to be who I wanted to be, and I allowed myself to be in my career when I wanted to be in my career. So there's no linear. I don't think we should think of these industries as linear paths anymore, like we have, since the 70s. Like, you'll do this and then go to this and go to this. It doesn't have to be that way. If you're interested in doing something, go do it. Don't be afraid to step out and try it.
That's cool.
You'll be able to figure it out.
That's such great advice. Is that what you tell your students?
I do every day.
Every day. Every day. I expect you to say that. What role does community partnership play in developing these future health professionals? And how do you foster those critical relationships?
DC HOSA is unique because we're kind of the new kid on the block. Some of these organizations have been around 45, 50 years. So our strategic approach has been take our time. Right now, we just want people to know we exist. But it is so important that the students are, talking within their school community, but parents need to get involved. Our local associations need to get involved. Our resources like hospitals and healthcare clinics, having them be aware of what HOSA can do for students is the first step. And so we've really taken kind of the slow approach. We're not rushing around and saying, hey, we want this partnership and this partnership, because it's not organic, we tend to ask, but I think these collaborations truly need to be a two-way street.
Win-win.
Win-win. Right? So like if an organization is looking to hire new respiratory care therapists, it's in their interest to then be a part of the community that's offering that respiratory care program, so that they will then go into that industry, into that hospital, and continue on no matter where their path takes them. So community partnerships are really difficult, and I think it is a responsibility for our large organizations to truly start investing in the middle schools and high schools, that low-hanging fruit, like they have done in universities. Otherwise, we're not going to continue the career pathways.
That's right.
It's really becoming difficult, especially with funding cuts. So businesses, associations, like, go adopt a school, go adopt a chartered association, or go adopt a local. Here in DC, we have 7 or 8 local chapters. If 4 or 5 businesses just adopted each one, now you've got some real buy-in. You've got human beings, adults who are in the field, who will really mentor and foster, and again, create that confidence. Show them how it works.
It's all about the confidence. It's all about the confidence. And one of the things that is startling on so many levels are the workforce shortages in healthcare. I mean, we talk about, full employment, and we got 4% unemployment, whatever it may be. But then you look at so many industries that are not able to find employees. Healthcare is one of them. When you look at, you can talk, a lot more about the specific numbers, but HOSA is the pipeline of future health professionals. It's 300,000 plus students across the nation and across the world, right? Mm-hmm. And they're helping get these kids excited about healthcare. That's exciting. But we have massive shortages. What are we going to do about that?
Yeah, like 200,000 jobs are not going to get filled in the healthcare industry this next year. So we have traditionally focused on our suburban communities who have really strong households, who have a history of providing great care to those families. So because they've seen healthcare, they've seen how it works. And I think what's really neat about some of the rural and urban HOSA organizations that are becoming stronger is that we're able to show students what healthcare could look like and inspire them. And I think programs like HOSA, where they get the opportunity to learn those skills, the technical skills, then they go into these competitions at the national level, the local level, and they feel empowered to actually pursue it, because all they've ever heard is nurses and doctors. They've not heard about the other 500 careers you could have in healthcare. And that, we have that shortage in nurses and doctors, but we have a shortage in every single level of
And who
healthcare.
do you hear talking about it beside HOSA? Is someone raising an alarm bell saying, hey, we have a problem in this sector of the economy? And by the way, as you get older, or when you need care and you show up and no one's there to help you, what are you then going to raise the alarm bell?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, right. It's so late.
Yeah,
we got to get going. We got to get moving on this stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think what's really neat is the Healthcare Pathways Consortium, Health Force. Those are organizations that are really trying to disrupt this and help HOSA and developing those partnerships and those competitive events that are truly within the technical standards of everyday healthcare.
That's so true. I want to shift a bit, Shreyas, to internships, job shadowing programs. What have you seen that have made a real impact in your students? Again, I think what I've seen, at least personally over the years, is that if you see it, you then know it exists and you can be it, as they say. I said that earlier.
Yes.
But if you're not even aware that there's an issue, or there's an opportunity, I should say, how can you even help to address it?
Right.
If we're sitting here in this zip code in Washington, D.C., in the center of the city, and a few miles from here, the life expectancy is dramatically lower, how are we addressing all these things? Like, what are we doing, as a nation?
Yeah. It's really interesting. I'll give you an example here. One of the most powerful things for students who are interested in the world of EMT is to do a ride-along. And if you go over to Maryland, you can actually do a ride-along at the age of 16, which is when most kids are starting to get curious and they want to see what they do and don't like, right? That's the whole purpose of these things. Here in the District of Columbia, our policies don't allow that. You have to be 18 or above. Well, by that time, it's too late. So policy is actually what's driving these internships and apprenticeship opportunities at every state level. So one of the things that we've been working really hard on nationally is trying to break some of those barriers so that students can actually have those internships and apprenticeship programs. Because you're exactly right. They have to see it in action so that they can take what they learn in the classroom and go, oh, I've heard that. I think I could apply it. And when they realize they're actually correct and they can do it, boom, now they're hooked.
Well, the other thing is you may realize, and this happens, that after being exposed to something that you thought you wanted to do because 5 generations of your family have done it, I don't really want to do that.
Exactly.
And so then you're also able to change, the trajectory of what, and to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they say, do what you love and all that.
Right.
It's actually pretty true, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, mine's the exact opposite. I studied as a physician assistant, I practiced for about a year, and I realized I don't like the policies of when I was a PA. That was very, very early 2000s. It's changed a lot. They're an amazing career now. But it brought me into teaching and taking all that knowledge to apply and then now create this new.
That's incredible. There you go. There you go. Exactly. And so challenges, where do we begin? I mean, I could go on. I'd need a compendium, I don't know, like the old school dictionaries of how many challenges we're facing. But how do you believe educators and organizations can actually tackle all of these challenges that we're facing?
Yeah, I think some of what we talked about, I think the first step is, please, let's raise up our educators. These educators work so hard, myself included, right? We are doing it day in and day out, but somehow the responsibility has been put on the educator within the classroom to develop partnerships and mentorships and apprenticeships and all the other ships. And I don't think that's fair or feasible, because that's what's causing burnout, right? There's only so many hours in the day, and we also have to take care of the social emotional part of the kid and teach and do paperwork, right? So I think let's take some of that away and look at districts and organizations or civic organizations like the Pencil Foundation in Nashville. They have done such a great job of creating a hub where all internships go through them and then kids apply to that. And now it's taken off the shoulders of the educator. Mentorshiping is huge. I constantly am asking for mentors just to review resumes, to share a little bit about their story. And it does feel like we're pulling teeth to get that, because how many people do I know in the industry? I know all the teachers, but I don't know everybody in healthcare. So it's hard for us to network when we've worked a full day and then we deal with our own families. So again, it goes back to let's adopt some of these programs. Let's really invest in some of these programs and get to know them on a personal level. Every single healthcare organization in the United States should be working with HOSA, hands down, because they need employees and we can provide them.
Yeah. At
the national level and at the international level.
And let's talk for a moment about the diversity of the pipeline.
It has been rough, right? We have the South Asian population and the East Asian population that is heavily involved in HOSA. And we have a smaller contingency of our Black American and Hispanic American population. Why is that? Because they live in those urban and rural areas. And they've had a very different upbringing. And I think we're seeing a shift because of programs like DC HOSA, where we are empowering every single kid to explore this. And we're not just focusing on the students who have had strong mathematics and science backgrounds. We need to provide kids with the opportunity to shine. And it might not look perfect, but they don't have to be perfect to go into healthcare. And I think we've made this healthcare industry something about perfection. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's right. I think we should be thinking about how do we create empathetic, kind human beings that can grow into amazing leaders. They don't need to be leaders at the age of 7, They don't,
yeah, exactly.
And so let's take that pressure off the kid and just allow them to have an authentic journey into healthcare that shows them that any path is possible.
You're on the front line, Shreyas. Thank you for all you do to
Thank
change
you.
the world and to create this pipeline. How do folks find out more about HOSA and Future Health Professionals?
HOSA.org. You should definitely check out the international website. If you want to learn more about DC HOSA, it is dchosa.org. And if you want to reach out to me, you can find my contact information. I will happily come talk to anyone.
I'll be happy to talk to you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
My pleasure.